Well, this just looks wrong. 8 starter workers. What I've got for you today are some games from the new StarCraft 2 PTR, the very controversial public test realm where all of the new changes are currently available to be tested. Now, spotting right here in the upper right, playing in red, we're looking inside of the main base of Hearthstone, playing custom practice games against none other than Lorimbo. Lorimbo definitely enjoys the more aggressive strategies, and I really wonder how an 8-worker start is going to affect things. Obviously, though, the biggest changes in this particular matchup are going to be for Protoss. I really don't know how Protoss is going to be opening up on this new patch. Look at Hearthstone's pylon timing here. He wants to go for a gateway on the low ground, but he doesn't have the money for it yet until right about right now. This is terrible. Obviously, a lot of things are going to be refined over the course of the next couple of weeks. But let's talk about the gateway changes, I suppose, right? I mean, the 8-worker start, I could yap about that for about an hour. But the gateway changes alone are already worth discussing. The main thing to note is that you can now research the warp gates inside of a gateway rather than a cybercore. What does that mean? Do you always open up with a double gateway because of it? Do you have to start with a double gateway because of it? Because ultimately, if you want to go into like an adept into a stalker, for example, or double adepts or triple adepts even, you just can't be researching warp gates simultaneously. We're going gateway right here into Nexus. He wants to add on, I would imagine, a cybercore next, but if you ever want to research warp gates, there it is, the cybercore. If you ever want to, make a stalker or research warp gates or anything along those lines, you're going to have to make some decisions. It is very important to note that the new... My god, look at that. It's a weird little symbol over here as well. It's important to note that the new research for warp gates increases the speed of production inside of the gateway itself. However, if you want to then turn the gateway into a warp gate, you have to spend 50 minerals, 50 gas. When do you make that choice? Do you go... Actually, all of it is irrelevant. We have a very quick roach warren over here for Lorimbo. When do you make that choice, though, as Protoss? Do you decide to transfer all of your gateways into warp gates like you've always done? Probably not. I would imagine you want to do so maybe a little bit later on into the game. Maybe commit to like an all-in. But if you're doing like an 8-gate all-in on 2 bases, that's 400 minerals, 400 gas that you have to spend in order to warp in offensively. Yes, the warp-ins offensively are going to be a little bit quicker because you don't need a gateway for fast warp-ins and all the rest of it, but it effectively changes the way that the entire Protoss early game gets played. We're chrono boosting out a bunch of adepts here, fair enough, but already some roaches are marching across the map. We have metabolic boosts on the back of this as well. No queen, by the way. Wait a second. We are doing... What in the world is going on? We have no queen. We are just committing to just some raw larva generation on the hatcheries themselves. Okay, well, normally we'd already be looking at a Stargate being finished around this time in the game. As a matter of fact, the first Oracle would be coming up. In this instance, though, 3.5 minutes into the game, we're not even thinking about a third base yet. We're not even thinking about a Stargate. We're just trying to survive. He's chrono boosting out both of the gateways. The reason for the cybercore is to tech up, but also to enable the option to go into stalkers or to go into adepts or sentries or anything along those lines. There are just so many things that have changed about the Protoss early game. I honestly can't figure out if it's better or worse. I think it's probably worse overall, but it's just a little bit too early to say. It may just take a little bit of time for everybody to figure out what the... Oh, biling your own units there is a questionable choice. It's gonna take some time, though, to figure out how to actually proceed in a game like this. The shield batteries, though, are awesome. Wait a second. Is it okay for Protoss to survive with triple shield battery like this? What in the world just happened here? This entire game just makes no sense anymore. Okay, so what just happened? Zerg committed to a very quick all-in. Everybody's been telling me that the Protoss early game is horrendous now, but Hearthstone held that with very little trouble, it seemed. Lorimbo, by the way, high-ranking Grandmaster from Italy. Not the same player as Lambo. I do see the confusion quite frequently. So Harstem again, going for the 11 out of 12 pylon here on the low ground. Do you have to cut a worker in order to go into a quicker gateway? Keep in mind that that probe stood there for a while, ready to make the gateway, but then he didn't quite have the money for it. I think that's what Harstem is potentially going to test out here. Yeah, no, he doesn't. He decides to go for another probe, and now we're once more patrolling with the worker on the low ground. Yeah, it's gonna take a while, and this is the really fun part of a big, influential patch like this one, right? It's gonna take a while before everybody will figure out what the actual go-to strategy is going to be. Not just for Protoss, I mean, especially for Protoss because of the gateway change, but also for the other races. Because of the fact that you now start with 8 workers, you effectively have to take your old build orders and throw them out of the window. It doesn't make any sense anymore. Batteries are also 100 energy everywhere, according to Boanon. Oh, really? Wait a second, did the batteries in that previous game start with additional energy? Because that was not in the patch notes. And unless I, like, read over it, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it is important to note that there are a lot of bugs at the moment, too. So there's a good chance that a lot of the changes we are going to see will be adjusted. At the very least, they should be adjusted. Remember the changes made to the changelings? So the changelings now apparently, they have like a weird disease on them where they deal splash damage to surrounding units. And it's supposed to only kill the other changelings that are surrounding them. So say you have like 10 changelings right over here, you attack the one in the middle, all of the changelings will automatically die. It's kind of like a direct nerf to the style that Rogue has been playing in the late game against Terrans specifically. At this point in time, on the current PTR, it deals splash damage to everything. Meaning that if you want to make 100 changelings and you just run them into your opponent's army, if any of those units destroy one of the changelings will all explode and deal damage to the units that they are hugging. That includes SCVs, that includes army units. I don't think that's intentional. I don't think we meant to be making changelings like a weaker version of a baneling. It's very interesting to see, but there's no way that that is what it's meant to do. Because that would be really incredibly broken. You would just see Zerg players making probably north of 100 overseers in the late game now, if that change actually goes through. Because it's free, right? Like, it's free. It doesn't cost you any supply. Usually that's the main bottleneck for Zerg. It even grants you supply if you make overseers. So there's loads of little bugs like that. That one's probably the most impactful. Anyhow, we once more have a double gateway start here for Harstem. Third hatchery coming up. Apparently the adept over here ended up getting surrounded. A couple of lings here trying their best. I kind of want to see one of these gateways research warp gates. Just because it looks so wrong. How important is it even to kill a cybercore now? Like, normally killing the cybercore is incredible. Do you just go into a very quick Stargate and call it a day for a while? Honestly, hard to say. He's not going to be able to kill it, though. Maybe if he would have committed really hard, it would have been possible, but it's probably not worth throwing too many Zerglings onto it. Ovi is going to die. There's the hallucinated Phoenix now flying across. I've, by the way, not seen anybody... Like, I've not seen the StarCraft 2 community on the whole be this active for quite a while now. For many years, people have been quietly observing the game, but it seems that the passion is back. For better or for worse, by the way. It reminds me a lot of, like, the political season, you know? Whenever people are discussing their opinions on things, and you're like, oh god, I kind of wish that this is over, but also it's kind of cool to see everybody be so passionate and you know, try to figure things out, right? It's the same thing that's happening in StarCraft right now. Like, the Reddit is booming, everybody has got strong opinions. There's a lot of dumb folks, really just kind of like, well, politics. I've noticed especially a lot of people that don't play the game, don't watch the game or whatever, have the strongest opinions. It really is very similar to politics. Anyways, Resonating Glaives coming up right now for Harstem, as we still do not have warp gates. I mean, we're researching it. We're getting it now onto this gateway, but do you actually want to look at the little animation? I've actually not noticed that before. Wait, is that what is a gateway normally doing, that little ball? Have I not noticed the little ball on the gateway in all these years? No, look, these are producing units. Ah, there's a visual indicator that you're researching the warp gates. I had not noticed that before. That's kind of sick. That's a new animation. Huh. In the meantime, the Zerglings are being really pesky. Yeah, they're being super annoying. So what happens at the end? Whoa! The bubble burst. And now we can theoretically transform our gateways. And he does transform his gateways. Hold up, I'm actually going to back up for just a moment. I want to see Harstem's resource count drop. So Harstem has 4 gateways here. He's going to transform all of them, but it's for each of them 50 minerals, 50 gas to transform them. So we're doing... Oh god, that's so expensive, man. We're doing Glaive to Depths with a Templar Archives on the back of this. And now we don't have gas to warp into depths. Okay. So you can choose, by the way, to not transform the gateways into warp gates and still just have the benefit of being able to get reinforcing units a little bit quicker. Like the gateway units themselves produce 35% faster. Wait for me. Alright, anyways. 4th hatchery in the meantime coming up for Larimbo. We have a Roach Warren added into the mix. Lair is going to be done soon. Yeah, we probably need to have a full wall off if we actually want to hold this sort of thing. The timing, though, is so different now, right? Like, this is the thing. And why the first few months on this new patch, if it actually goes through the way that it's been intended so far, the first few months are going to be all over the place. Because cheeses, like the one that we are witnessing right here, are back on the menu. For better or for worse, right? I like the early game aggression. I think it's really fun. But these are builds that have been long, quote-unquote, solved. It's not going to be rocket science, but the timing is just simply different. So it means that the point at which you stop making drones and start making units, the point at which you start up your Roach Warren, maybe you want to make a wave of Zerglings, the timing at which you have to scout, all of those timings are now different. So it means that temporarily, at the very least, Glaive to Depth all-ins like this one, it's not even really that all-in, I guess. We have a 3rd base on the back of this. We have a really solid economy. Let's go with Glaive to Depth Pressure, like this one, is back on the menu. And it is, I gotta say here, so far, kind of refreshing to see a Protoss versus Zerg where Protoss is not forced into a Stargate opener. Protoss is just going into a bunch of gateways, Twilight Council, and now into Quick Storm without a Stargate at all. Now, is it good, right? Like, this is the main question. Is it good that all of those standardized timings are thrown out of the window and that everybody's gonna have to relearn a lot of things from scratch? Because a lot of people are saying, okay, the reason that this needs to be done is to create more variety in the early game, more variety in the mid game. I somewhat agree. Okay, well, GG gets cold. We'll go into the next one and continue the discussion there. So I somewhat agree with the idea of having more variety in the early game, but it's only going to be temporary. A lot of people think back of the early Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm days through rose-tinted glasses because the sky really seemed to be the limit. But keep in mind that players these days are way better. Like, if we had Clem, like current 2026 Clem, in 2010, he would never lose a match. Obviously, that is an impossible comparison to draw because a lot of it is just communal knowledge and training methods and all that coming together, right? But the thing is, people are just better at the game. So yes, temporarily, all of those timing attacks are back on the menu, but the go-to build will float to the top at some point. I don't know how long it's gonna be. Be it 2 months, 3 months, 3 weeks, a year, I don't know. But at some point, equilibrium will be achieved yet again. That's a good word, eh? Equilibrium. Yeah, kind of proud of that one. I'm not gonna. Okay, but anyways, it will be achieved at some point. So yeah, temporarily things will be shaken up, but I'm a little bit afraid that what we end up with is just an extra minute or so on top of every game in the early game, and then ultimately nothing changes. It's just that your build orders all have to be relearned, and maybe it's gonna scare people away that are thinking about coming back, or they have played casually for the last couple of years and now they're like, oh god, I have to relearn everything. I can't really be bothered. Right? Like, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Maybe on the flip side, people are like, yo, everything's been reset. This is my perfect opportunity to get back into the swing of things and try to relearn the game because build orders are going to be reset. I don't know. I don't know what direction I'm leaning. I'm really a little bit conflicted. I personally think it's probably best to not mess with the starter work account. At least a lot of folks that I personally do trust with their opinions seem to all say, yeah, no, it's actually just a terrible idea. Anyhow, double Cybercore? Oh, we're doing... I, for a moment there, lost my mind. Hearthstone is just doubling down here on the hatchery block. Thought for a second. Oh, God, that was not a cancel. Oh, jeez. Oh, wait a second. Okay, all right. Thought for a second we were going double upgrades. So the Cybercore right now, by the way, is a tech structure that only has air upgrades. So, yeah, that's it. By the way, this is StarCraft 1 music playing in the background. According to the SC2 settings, we always could have had StarCraft 1 music playing in the background, but it never really did, or at least not consistently whenever I'm casting games. One of the bug fixes is that apparently, maybe that's the biggest bug fix, dude. Maybe that's the most important change of them all. They have apparently gotten rid of some of the duplicate music and then made sure that the playlist is more accurate or something. I don't really know exactly. But we should be able to hear more StarCraft 1 music now. Which is actually sick, because I would like Terran 2 to play at my funeral. My wedding. My bar mitzvah. I want it to be played at every momentous occasion in my life. Maybe I should go tell my wife that I would have liked to... Anyways, never mind. Hatchery is going to finish up here on the low ground eventually for Lorimbo, who's going to be getting a little bit of supply from the hatch. This is actually another big change. Hatcheries now only provide 4 supply. 4! It's like nothing. They've also reduced the amount of supply that the Nexus and then also the Command Center provide. The idea being that you have to be more committed into making a base. You know how Zergs have been freely mass expanding in the early game for many years now, and how Protoss has been doing it in Protoss versus Terran over like the last year, where in like the 10-minute mark they have like 20 bases okay, maybe they have like 10 bases taken because a Nexus is just like a more expensive pylon. Well, it's still a more expensive pylon, it's just slightly less exciting. Okay. Okay. Well, the Adept here ultimately dies, but I think that was a pretty nice start. 3 workers here, or 4 workers even, although 3 Adepts did also die. Look at this wall off too, man. 3 pylons because of the early game aggression. This time we are not bothering with any sort of shield batteries or anything along those lines. There is, by the way, a really big chance that the new balance patch, whatever its final form is going to look like, is going to coincide with a map pool change. So, the new maps are also kind of nuts. Dude, we are just about to see one of the biggest resets in StarCraft 2's history. Genuinely. Like, if all of these things actually make it through... yeah, the sky is the limit. You know who's going to be benefiting it from it the most, I think? The player who's probably been winning all the tournaments in 2026 so far is probably the one that benefits from it the most. Hero. Hero is by far the most... well, chaotic player at the highest level. He usually really thrives at the beginning of big multiplayer patch changes, at least historically. And he's already been winning everything in 2026 so far. I think Hero is looking at these changes and he's probably suspiciously quiet about it. While everybody is kind of angry or up in arms, I haven't really heard anything from Hero, and I can imagine he's probably quite hyped. Because he really is going to be enjoying this. Especially if we also get the new maps at the same time, man. I think Hero's not going to lose a game for a while. I don't know, no. Maybe it's going to be entirely different. And maybe the argument could also be made that, well, he's already so good. He's already winning all the things. Maybe, yeah, we just need to keep the status quo for him. I think he'll be able to figure it out now. Simultaneously, players that usually are a little bit worse. Oh, as we do see a bit of damage here being done as well by that Oracle now. 4 workers in total. Not bad. There are some players at the absolute top level that I consider to be a little bit less flexible. And I don't really mean that with any disrespect. It's just that usually they just take a bit longer before they reach their absolute tops again. Players like, for example, Clem and MaxPax, in my mind, are a little bit more rigid. They're not necessarily the most creative players that we have in the game. Dude, we have more music in the background. Huh. Pretty cool. I think a lot of it is also the Nova Covertops, if I'm not mistaken. Like, the Nova Covertops came with its own music, but none of that was ever added to replay casts or live observing. I don't know if this one specifically is from the Nova Covertops, but it's sick. Alright, Spire coming up right here for Lorimbo. +1 melee also added into the mix. Yeah, they actually enabled the entire StarCraft 2 music library for StarCraft Evolution, the StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2 mod. And it's actually one of my favorite things about that mod, the fact that we have more musical variety. We apparently now also get it into the main game, which is probably more important. Anyhow, Spire's gonna be done soon, +1 melee coming up. Roachborn also added into the mix. Hearthstone, by the way, 7 minutes and 50 seconds into the game, has still not got warp gates. No, he researched it, but he just never made the structure switch. And I guess when you're playing defensively, and that's the real key, yeah, he's transforming them right now. Early on, it just doesn't really seem necessary to transform those gateways into warp gates. What's the point? Now that he can actually start moving out onto the map, single proxy pylon, no reason anymore to put a gateway right next to it for the fast warp-ins, because all the warp-ins are now 3 seconds flat. Right now is a good moment to indeed make that switch. We've got ourselves Mutalisks coming up as well. I mean, it's so exciting. Whatever the end result of this patch is going to be, it is a good time to be a StarCraft fan. Because everything you know, everything you love about the game, well, it's been thrown out of the window. This is an attack with potential, though. Nice blink. Good, important blink, actually. There's stasis wards in the back. Already, the Oracles are going to town. +1 melee is done for the Lynx. Mutas are the only thing still available right now to fight with, though. And it does look like the Muta numbers are going to be able to overwhelm this for now. Man, that warp-in seemed incredibly fast. I saw the warp-in right there on the production tab. It seemed like those units finished up in like, phew, that little white bar on the production tab finished up real quick. I want to see some more warp-ins. Hold up, I want to see how fast it actually is. Can we warp in some more Stalkers somewhere? Yeah, it is pretty fast. Archon here available. Not bad. I will say that the early game delay does not seem to be as significant, right? So you're 4 workers down. It adds about like 45 seconds to a minute or so of additional worker production time if both players just want to go straight to 12 workers in total. I was a little bit concerned that it would add a lot of additional moments. Not really the case. Phoenixes swoop in here. But the Zerglings are already trying their absolute best to nibble away at these very expensive Protoss units. The worker counts are, well, still solid here for Hearthstone. And that's where things are a little bit tough here for Lorimbo. He's doubling down on mass Muta, mass Ling. But it's slowly turning into an all-in. And with the Phoenix numbers growing, I'm a little bit afraid here for the Zerg. So more of the Mutas here do sail through. Nice movement here by Hearthstone in general. Has to be said. 5 additional very fast warp-ins. The Nexus here does indeed get denied. So that's something. 5th hatchery in the meantime in the far bottom left. Looks like we're gonna make a transition here towards Hydraling Bane. Zergling run-bys all over the map. Purple Zerg, by the way, is very underrated. I feel like purple Zerg is like the lore-accurate color. You can't pick your color on the ladder. On the ladder, it's always red versus blue, but actually on Hearthstone screen, it's probably also red versus blue. You can't standardize those colors, but As an observer to the game, I think purple does look awesome. No cancel there again by Harston, man. That's the second time we've caught a big building not getting canceled. Mutant numbers are actually starting to put in a ton of work. Phoenixes are dying here. Wait a second. Did the captain just kind of drop the ball? That was a series there of unfortunate mistakes. Losing the Nexus there and then losing so many of the units. Okay, apparently, ultimately here, Harston decides to tap out. Big thanks, by the way, to Lorimbo for sending over these replays. I figured we'll do one more. This time around, it's not Harston. It is printf. This may actually be the cheesiest matchup on the European ladder. printf versus Lorimbo. Let's see how this goes. Let's just say that both of these players enjoy the more, the finer things in life. Yeah, they enjoy a little bit of wine, but they especially enjoy a little bit of cheese. High ground pylon. Kind of hate this pylon positioning, dude, because it's not gonna fit a forge in front of it, will it? No, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's just barely fine. Okay, it's just barely fine. Yeah, this is a battle of refined tastes. Forge first, by the way. Okay, sure. Hatchery on the low ground first. By the way, was that like a 14 hatch? 14 hatch. Yeah, nah. Doesn't sound right. printf, by the way. Probably the most well-known cannon rusher in the modern age of StarCraft. It's actually very common for the top-ranking cannon rushers to make fun of pro gamers whenever they attempt a cannon rush. According to them, pro gamers are pretty terrible at it. Gateway here. Yeah, we're doing the long arm cannon rush, you know, the one where you begin about a mile away from your opponent's base. Overlord, I mean, is going to be a little bit suspicious now. I don't really think the Lorimbo is going to be too surprised to find out that indeed there is a pylon and a photon cannon going up. Maybe the gateway is going to make things a little bit more confusing. There should be enough drones to kill it, but it is a little bit funky. Yeah, do you actually commit to losing drones? I don't think that is optimal. So, let me think about it. Did anything change for cannon rushing? I guess gateway production here may actually be... It may actually be better. Yeah, so he starts off with the warp gate research. We have a cyber core as well, but that one is used to complete the wall off. Fair enough. So we have all the important tech structures over here, and then all of the random junk right out in the open. Drone going across. Second photon cannon right now on the back of this as well. The one over there in the back, I think, got cancelled. Oh, yeah, okay. This is the obvious response. We're going proxy hatchery versus cannon rush. Weirdly enough, though, since now Zerg doesn't have a natural expansion anymore, printf really doesn't need to commit to the cannon rush that much anymore. Like, you've already got what you came for, right? You've already successfully got your opponent stuck on one base. How long do you actually want to still now commit to this sort of attack? Well, I guess the majority of the Protoss infrastructure is now on the other side. Maybe we need to follow it up with a Nexus over here too and recall the probes. At that point, this entire game is going to become an absolute clown show. So, warp gates are now done. Oh, he actually queued up warp gates and then queued up a stalker too on the back of it. Look how quickly this thing is building, though. 35% quicker. Lair is just about done here for Lorimbo. Proxy hatchery on the low ground, indeed, is also finishing, but how much do we actually commit to this? Where do we take this game from here? Like, what are we... Okay, sometimes you have to take a step back, right? When you're playing a game of StarCraft, What are we actually doing right now? Like, what are we trying to achieve? Right? The win condition in a game of StarCraft is to kill your opponent's structures. What are we doing right now that actually brings either of these two players closer in that direction? What are we doing right now? What are we actually trying to achieve? Because now we're just playing SimCity out in the middle of the map. We're just building a bunch of structures around, but this roach push is not really going anywhere. There is, by the way, an infestation pit. So I guess we can go swarm hosts? Swarm host Nidus, maybe? Protoss, by the way, has dedicated most of their resources on the other side of the map. No shield battery apparently can be spared here on the high ground. Swarm hosts are coming up, but they're inside of the main base. Okay. So this proxy hatch is being given up on entirely. Lorembo is going back to the drawing board. As the plan, I guess, is to defend with roaches and queens here on the high ground, and then rain locust on top of this extremely soft contain. Like, we're not even really containing that much. Now, I guess with the third gateway, I mean, he can't really afford transforming it into a warp gate. That's so funny, man. Now that we are... we're still just randomly producing. I wonder if it's actually... You know, this could actually be the end result, as we have the first wave of locusts coming in. There might be Protoss strategies now, if this change actually goes through, where Protosses will purposefully not have all their gateways transformed into warp gates. Like, we may actually see the structure getting used as, like, two distinctly different types of production. Maybe you want to go for an 8-gate push, but only half of them are warp gates. I don't know. It's hard to say. Blink is going to be done in about a minute. Ooh, good transfusion there, right, right in the nick of time. Not a single swarm host has actually died yet this game. It's proxy Stargate as well on the back of this. Keep in mind, by the way, that, and this is something that I'm going to have to change my perspective on as well. Keep in mind that they have changed the amount of starting resources in the main bases, right? So in all of the mineral fields, we have a more standardized amount of resources. In the past, about 8-9 minutes into the game, half of these mineral fields would start running out. They will still run out, but significantly slower. You get a few minutes of additional mining. How much it exactly is, I do not know at this point. We'll have to find out the hard way. But since there's now slightly more resources in total, as we do get a big blink over here into the main base, this is problematic. The warp gates are still very nice, it seems. Yeah, the question is, when does the main base run out? Normally, 10 minutes in, you're looking... Oh my god, what is that? What is even going on right now, man? The voids have been pooled. Wait a second. The Stalker numbers are going to be fully reset. Why did he just throw all those units in, man? Did he just disrespect the Locust DPS? We can reach critical swarm host mass here. Critical swarm host mass would basically out-heal any sort of shield battery repairs. Fleet beacon on the back of this too. One base fleet beacon. One base fleet beacon. One base proxy fleet beacon. I'm guessing you can probably mine your main base until like minute 12, maybe 13 or so. But I don't know. That means we have another 5 minutes or so of chaos before the players absolutely need to expand. Stalker going in around the side. Printf is scouting whether or not there's an actual base somewhere for the Zerg. He's getting a little bit suspicious as to how many units Zerg is actually producing out of just a single base. Can't blame him, but also you just threw away all your Stalkers for 3 swarm hosts. You know, maybe that's why the Zerg army looks bigger than it's supposed to be. Tempest coming up. Does Lorembo see the Stargate? He does, and he will see that there is a Tempest in production. Void Ray going in around the site. A bunch of Spore Crawlers over here too. Nidus Worm detected here by Printf. Overlord on the other side of the map still available too. I mean, one Locust Wave, and the Nexus over here is gone. Do we have to go Spire? Like, can you afford a Spire? Keep in mind, Spires are cheaper. Oh, now we have reached critical mass, it seems, by the way. You can start out DPSing. Yeah, he's starting to out DPS the shield battery healing. Keep in mind, they made the Spire cheaper in one of the previous patches of StarCraft 2. So, one base, one base Swarm Host Corruptor has never been more viable than it is right now. That's a sentence I didn't think I was going to say at the beginning of the year. That may be a unique sentence, actually. In the history of mankind, there's a chance nobody has ever uttered those words in that order. Oh, yeah, hit the Nexus. Oh, hit the Nexus. Oh, that's kind of hot. Now, lucky here for Printf, he's a true cannon rusher. So he has 1,400 minerals in the bank. It allows him to, at the very least, make another base. That's sweet. Would have been problematic if he actually macroed cleanly, but since he didn't, he can continue playing the game. Proxy Nexus now coming up over at what is normally the 3rd or the 4th base for the Zerg. The Locusts are going around. Spire is coming up. Yeah, we need Corruptors. You cannot beat Tempests with Queens and Spore Crawlers alone unless Protoss sleeps. Right? If Protoss takes a little bit of a nap, sure. But technically, once you get up to like 5 Tempests, the 5 Tempests can one-shot everything Zerg. Pylons, by the way, have been getting destroyed. Swarm Hosts are starting to nibble now through all of this really nicely. Big supply block here, too, for Printf now. That's a big deal, man. He lost the Nexus, and while it does provide less supply than in the past, it still provides a significant chunk here. Oh, no. I think we see our Protoss getting a little bit tunnel-visioned. There is now, at the very least, a reasonable Skytoss army, but with the Spire finishing up, the Nidus Worm, by the way, once more available. Do we send it across? I mean, it'd be really nice if you could somehow move him to the right side here. Yeah, he doesn't know about the rest of the... Oh, the Protoss probe's gonna recold. Okay, he's gonna find an empty base. At the very least, he already knows that there is a Nexus out there somewhere. Yeah, because otherwise the Protoss would have been revealed. He doesn't know exactly where it's located, but at the very least, it's somewhere out on the map. Main base of the Protoss is getting cleaned up. 4th Tempest will be available real soon. That is 1 off the magic number. But now Corruptors are being produced. 12 minutes into the game, look at the mining that's still going on here for the Zerg. It's actually still possible to keep this going. Alternative choice, though, send a drone in through the network and build a Nexus, or a Zerg Nexus, rather, inside of the opponent's natural. It's very cursed, but, you know, difficult times call for difficult decisions. Corruptors are gonna spawn. How many do we have? 3. Yeah, we're not yet at 5. Oh no, this is bad here for Protoss for sure. There's the Void Ray joining in as well. He's gonna make the beam thick, but it also slows down the Void itself. So I think the Void Ray may end up dying. Not the case yet. Transfusions are good. Here's the big Locust Wave though. Okay, we're within range here of a bunch of shield batteries. Now the Nexus over here gets spotted. Keep in mind, though, that Protoss is still rich because they're actually mining a fully available base, whereas Zerg is running out of cash. This is truly one of the dumbest games I've ever seen, man. What if... Okay, hear me out. What if Protoss actually spends their money? Just a thought. What about we actually spend our near 2,000 resource bank? Even just 20 zealots here would be incredible. Okay, maybe 12 zealots. Yeah, the Tempest here going down is problematic. That's 2 Tempests down the drain now. And I think the Stargate itself is going to die. Mama is coming up. I mean, that's 400 minerals. We'll take it. Alternative choice, if we don't want to make slow zealots, build it on our base and mine the gases there. We have options. The Swarmos, though, have broken out of the contain. 14 minutes in, 4th Tempest dies. And while the main base is finally running low, Man, it's our Zerg player here who obtains the victory. That was a ridiculous game. I don't know how relevant the new patch was necessarily in that final game. But this certainly does leave a lot of room for thought. I mean, the fact that the resources in the main base changed allowed Zerg to play the one base all in for that long. Right? Like, that was a beautiful game of StarCraft, albeit very cursed. And I'm sure there's a million things both players would change looking back at a game like that, just because everything has kind of been thrown out the window and all of the values are different than what you expect them to be. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be a StarCraft player, and it's also a time where a lot of people are kind of scared, right? Because I think the main point that most people are bringing up is that most people are not so much against Blizzard making big changes to the game. Most people think that's pretty exciting. But if we now do the thing where Blizzard is gonna be hands off the keyboard, they push this patch through in like June or July or whatever, and they're gonna be hands off the keyboard and AFK for the next 6 months until December, that would be problematic.